going to discuss about these flow control structures. The first one is less than. Here you can see A and B, and between A and B you can see this less than notation, right? So this less than notation gives we can use this less than notation to check some values, right? So which value is less than a particular value. If we consider two values A and B, then we can check whether which value is less than with which value, right? So here A and B, and then less than or equal. Here you can see less than notation and the equal notation, right? Then greater than, here this is the greater than notation, and then you can see here greater than or equal, greater than or equal, right? Then equal to, that means you can see here two equal signs, and then not equal, right? So two notations. Now let's see how we can use these notations with the programming language. In C#, you can see these conditions to perform different applications. Like if we consider some application we need to use some conditional statement, so then we can apply these control structures. Here you can see C# has following conditional statements. So the first one is if. So if specify a block of code to be executed, if the specified condition is true, right? So use if to specify a block of code to be executed if a specified condition is true, right? So then the next one is else. So else is used to specify a block of code to be executed if the same condition is false, right? So we have examples and I'll show you, but before that we need to go for each and every conditional statement. So the next one is else if. So use else if to specify a new condition to test if the first condition is false, right? So else if. And then the last one is switch. Switch is a different conditional statement, and these three are interrelated. So we can use if, else, and else if in the same structure, but the switch is a different type of conditional statement, and we have example for this one also. So the switch is used to specify many alternative block of code to be executed, right? So we can discuss this one later, but I mainly focus on these three, right? So the first one is if statement, right? So if statement. Here, this is the syntax, and here you can see this if condition. If, then the condition, whatever the condition you need to put that condition here. And then if this condition is true, then we need to put whatever the code we need to execute, right? So the block of code to be executed if the condition is true, right? So here another important thing, note that if is in lowercase letters, right? So we can't use uppercase letters like this one, if capital if, right? So here entirely capital. No, we can't use, there may be some errors, right? So you need to remember, you need to use if with these lowercase letters, simple if, right? Like this. So this is the example. In this example below, we test two values to find out if 20 is greater than 18. If the condition is true, then print some text. Here you can see if, then our value, right? So 20, then our comparison operator here greater than, then our next value, that is 18. So we need to check if 20 is greater than 18. So if this condition is true, then we need to execute this statement. So this statement says 20 is greater than 18. Now let's see with our C# IDE how this happens. So I'm going to open Visual Studio. New project. Console application. You need to select C# first and then console application, and whatever the name you can put here, but I'm not going to change those things. Just click OK. And I have created one assignment for you, and I'll tell you that assignment about that assignment after this practical or the whatever the thing we need to learn today. So after that, I'll tell you about that also. So here, I'm going to separate my screen like this. Now, if then open brackets, and you need to use these two curly brackets to specify the statement you need to print if this condition is true, right? So here 20 greater than 18, right? So this is the condition I'm going to check. So then I need to type console dot write line, and inside this write line method I need to specify whatever the thing I need to print. I need to print 20 is greater than 80, this statement, right? I copy this one and I paste here, right? And then before the execution I need to put control, not the console dot read key to hold my screen. Console dot read key, right? Now let's run the program and see the output. So here you can see 20 is greater than 18 because this condition is true, and then if this condition is true, we are going to execute this statement, right? So in the real life example, if I consider in the sometimes if you are going to buy something online, right? So sometimes you may buy some softwares or some other things, then so you can see this kind of if conditions in the logic, right? So if your payment status is success, then you are allowed to download some paid applications, right? So maybe virus guard or some other thing, right? So you can download if you paid correctly, then your payment status is checked here, and your payment status is success, then they will allow you to download or something like that, right? So then actually they will allow you to proceed further. You can download something or you can do something based on the scenario. So that is how you can use if condition, and then we are moving forward with so here this is the example I have discussed, but here the same thing you can use with variables, right? So here you can see 20 and 18 I use numbers, But rather than using these numbers, I can use variables also. I will show you the same example with variables. So I'm going to declare two variables. The first one is x and the second one is y. So int, but before that I need to close my program. Int x, right? Int x equal 20 and int y equal 18. Right. Now I'm going to replace these 20 and 18 by these variables. The first variable should be x. The second variable should be y. Y, right? Now, so here also I need to change x is greater than y. Now, again, I'm going to run the program and then you can see the output. So x is greater than y. So this time I use two variables x and y, and I specify the condition with these x and y, and I removed 20 and 18 from this condition, and I replace those values with x and y, and then I print this statement x is greater than y. So we can use variables also. Right. Any problems? Anything you need to know? Now, so now we are going to use else statement, right? So now up to now we discuss if statement, and we use some values and we checked some conditions, right? So here I checked greater than, and I use the same condition with variables also. The first time I use values, and then I replace those values with variables, and we did the program. Now we are going to use else statement. So the else statement means if the first condition is false, then we need to go for the next uh, option, right? So the next option means if the first condition is false, then there should be some code to be executed, right? So I'll show you that one. So this is the structure, or this is the syntax here. So this is the first thing, if condition, right? So we can't use else as a simple condition like if, right? So we should have if condition first, right? So this should be first. We should have this one, right? Then if this condition is false, then we need to go for the else, right? So now let's see how it happens. Now this is the example here, the same example, actually not the same one, little bit different one, but you can easily understand what I have written here. Just I remove this code and replace with new logic with else part. So my variable is int time equal 20, right? Int time equal 20. Then I'm going to check this time is less than 18. If the time is less than 18, I'm going to print good day, right? So otherwise that means else. So then if the time is not less than 18, I need to print good evening, right? So the first thing, if condition. So first thing I'm going to check the time is less than 18, because you can see the my time is 20, right? So I'm going to check the time is less than 18, right? So if Then else part also I'm going to write like this. So right, so when you are going to write a program, first thing you need to specify your structure, right? Then you have clear idea about what you are going to write in this program, right? So that's how I specify my structure of the logic, right? So this is the structure. If, then I need to print something, otherwise I need to print some other thing. So here time is 20, time is equal to 20. Now I'm going to check this time is less than 18, right? So time is less than 18. Now I print, if this is true, then the statement I need to print is good day. So I copy this one and paste it here. Then actually the time is already 20, and but I'm going to check whether the time is less than 18. So always this condition is false. That means you can't see this statement on your screen. So simply we print whatever the value we need to print in this else part, right? So you can see the output which you can write in the else part. So console dot write line good evening. So I copy this one and I paste it here, because the time is already 20 and it is not less than 18. Therefore you can see this statement. So now let's run the program and see the output. Good evening, right? So because the time is already 20, but I'm going to check that time is less than 18. No, it's not true. Then my program execute this code segment rather than executing this code, right? So that is how you can see good evening as the output of this program. Anything you need to know? So I'm waiting for your questions. Is it okay, or you need more explanation? Then you can use a raise hand option, or you can directly ask by using your mic, or you can use your chat box. Anything you can use and you can ask. So that is about else statement. Then the next one is else if, right? So else if, here this else if statement we use to specify a new condition if the first condition is false, right? So remember, now you know how to use if condition and you know how to use else condition, right? Now another thing, else if this condition. So you need to put this else if condition after this if condition, right? So you can't use after the else statement this else if condition, right? So else statement is the last statement, right? So this should be the last one, and all the other things, that means the if condition is the first one, then else if, then another else if also we can use, and we can go forward with so many else if statements, but finally you should have else statement, right? Now let's try to understand what I have written here. So the first one is if then the condition, and then if this condition is true, then you need to specify whatever the thing you need to print, right? So if this condition is false, then simply we execute this part, right? So then you can see the block of code to be executed if the condition 1 is false, right? So condition 1 is false and the condition 2 is true, right? So if this condition is true, then you can write something to be executed here, right? So that is how you can use else if. That means if this condition is false but this condition is true, then you can write something to be executed. Otherwise, that means the condition 1 and the condition 2 both are false, then we can write something to be executed, right? So here you can see the block of code to be executed if the condition 1 is false and condition 2 is also false. Now this is the example. Now we can write this example and we can see the output. Now my time is 22. I changed this one, but before that I need to close the program. Fine. Time is 22 and I'm going to check this time is less than 10. Right? So if the time is less than 10, I need to print good morning. So then I remove this else part. So now my if condition is like that. Now I'm going to use else if. Else if. Then you should have brackets like this, right? Else if. And then again, whatever the thing you need to print here, you need to specify the scope like this, right? So you can use this bracket like this also, right? So I'm not going to use like that. You need, you can use like that. Most of the Java programmer or the Java developers use this kind of syntaxes, right? So here, else if, then I need to check time is less than 20, right? So if the time is less than 20, then I need to print good day, right? Good day. Then else part, right? So if these both the conditions are false, then there should be something to be executed, right? So now else part. Remember, in the else part, we don't use this kind of brackets, right? No, we can't use this kind of brackets. Just simply we use these curly brackets only. And inside the curly brackets, we can write whatever the thing we need to execute. Here, now else part, good evening. This one. Right, good evening. Now we can run the program and see the output. Good evening. You can see the output as good evening. Why you can see that output? Because the time is 22, and if we check the first condition, if the time is less than 10, no, it's wrong. This is false. We cannot execute this code segment. Then we go for the next part. Now we check the time is less than 20. This is also wrong. This is also false, right? So then we cannot execute this statement also. Otherwise, that means if both the condition, if both the condition are false, then we have to go for the final option. That means the else part. So that's why you can see good evening on the screen, right? So that is how you can understand what I have written here. Any problems? And if you need to write something, you can disturb anytime, and then I will give you time to write, right? Now the next one, now we have done else if statement also, and we can use multiple else if also, right? So just one else if you need, you can specify some other condition, and like this, right? So I copy and I paste it here like this, right? So you can use multiple else if conditions, but remember the last statement should be else, right? Actually, this one should be good morning. Right. Next one, switch statements. Now, see the switch statements here. Use the switch statement to select one of many code blocks to be executed. Here, if we have a condition to check with this switch statement, if that condition or that value or that case is matched with this case, right? So either this case or this one or some other case, if they are, you can see, then we need to check whatever the case we are going to check with match with these cases, then we print something here, right? So I'll show you the example later, but before that you need to understand how these switch statements are working. So here the first thing, the switch expression is evaluated once, right? So then the value of the expression is compared with the value of each cases. If there is a match, then the associated block of code is executed. So the break and default keywords will be described later in the later chapter, right? So, but you can see this screen, I think, but it's little bit small because this is a lengthy program. Here, try to understand what I have discussed with you now. So this example below, use the weekday number to calculate the week name, right? So weekday name. So now we are going to see the weekday name based on the weekday number. Now here you can see int day equal 4 because this is a variable and this variable contains value 4. Now this switch statement, here you can see case 1. If the case equal to 1, that is the meaning of this statement. That means the value which is coming from this variable I have passed to this switch statement, right? So now the day value is 4. Then we are going to check first case, right? So the case equal 1, but we didn't put equal here, and remember we don't need equal, but you need to understand what I have written here. So that's why I say equal. The case equal 1, then we print Monday. If the case equal 2, then we print Tuesday. If the case equal 3, then we print Wednesday. If the case equal 4, that means the value which is coming from this day variable is 4, then we print Thursday, right? So then if the case is 5, then Friday. If the case is 6, then Saturday. So here, and if the case is 7, then it should be Sunday, right? So whatever the thing we have written here, it will print. Now you can see here, after each and every console.write line, you can see this break statement, right? So break statement means if the condition is matched, then we don't need to go further. So we need to break our execution. That means we need to stop our condition checking process, right? So in order to stop that one, we use this break statement here. Now let's see this example with a real life code segment. I'll remove all the codes and I'll type from the beginning. Now remove all the parts. First thing I need to declare a integer variable int day equal 4, right? Then I need to specify my switch structure, right? So the switch statement, switch open bracket and close bracket, and then two curly brackets like this, right? So it's little bit similar to if statement, but it's not the if statement, right? So here switch, and then we need to specify whatever the variable we are going to pass inside this switch statement. So in my case, I'm going to pass this day variable, this one, right? So here day. Now I'm going to check cases, right? So case one. So if the case is 1, right, then I'm going to print console.writeLine, console.writeLine. What is the value here? Monday, right? Monday. Then another case, right? So, but you can see after the writeLine statement, I need to specify break, right? Then I copy this part and paste it here, right? So now this should be 2. Then this should be Tuesday. Now this should be 3, right? So then this should be Wednesday. Then our fourth statement, this should be 4. This should be Thursday. Then my fifth case statement, this should be Friday. Now, next one is sixth statement, sixth one, right? Saturday. Then the last one, this should be 7. Then Sunday. Right, this should be Sunday, and then you can see after the Sunday, after the 7 case, you can see the break here, right? Now we can see the output. So this is the program. Right, see the output. So you can see here Thursday. Why it is Thursday? Because here you can see my value of the variable day is 4, right? So that means this execution flows from here to here, because this is not the matching case. Then we go for the next one. Next one is also wrong. That means the variable is value is 4. Now the case says if the case is 2, then we need to print this one. If the case is 3, then we need to print Wednesday. If the case is 4, then we need to print Thursday. So because my variable value is 4, that's why you can see here Thursday as the output, right? If I change this one to some other value, let's see what is the value. Like here we can use 7 last value, right? So now again we see the output. So Sunday, right? So because the Sunday is belongs to case 7, right? So here you remember the case 7 means this is the value we are going to match, right? Sometimes maybe a character or maybe some other thing, right? So most of the time we use characters and numeric values like this, right? So if our variable value is equal to this value, then we print something here, right? So we can specify whatever the thing we need to print here, right? So that is the idea of this switch statement. Now, any problems? Anything you need to know more than that? And if you need time, you can write. If you have note down something, you can write. Now, this is the example I discussed with you, right? So, next one, break keyword. So the break keyword means when C# reaches break keyword. So you saw that break keyword here, this one, these are the break keywords. Break keyword, right? So when C# reaches to the break keyword, it breaks out the switch block, right? So that means we are not going to execute further. So this will stop execution of more code and case testing inside the block. So when a match is found, the job is done. So it's time for a break. So there is no need for more testing, right? So that is the meaning of the break keyword. So then default keyword. So the default keyword is optional and specifies some code to run if there is no case match. That means just like else statement. No uh, if there is nothing to match, right? So then we can specify some other default message or something like that. So your actually we can write it like no match found or something like that. So here you can see default keyword in this example, console.write line looking forward to the weekend, because here you can see my value is 4 and I'm going to check if this value is available in this switch statement, because I'm going to check that one. The case 6 says today is Saturday and case 7 says today is Sunday, and you can't see any case with the matching value of this 4 because you can't see case 4 here. Then we default, actually we can print some other thing because we can't find some matching statement in this case statement. So that's why I print default one. So it says looking forward to the weekend or any other message, right? So actually you can specify not no match found or something like that simply, right? So we can do this one also. Here I'm going to remove up to this part, right? This part. Actually, I don't need to remove, and I'll do the same thing like this. Default, right? right? Now we can change this value as 10 or some other value. Actually we can't find this 10 inside this case statement. So now let's see the output, and I put my default message as not found, not found, right? Now you can see not found here, right? Because the value 10 is not matching with either any of the statement which is available under the switch statement. So because you can see 1 2 3 4 5 6 up to 7, and I'm asking about 10. You can't see any matching case inside this statement with the value 10, right? So that's why you can see not found message. So remember, this is the syntax, right? After the whatever the value you are having, whatever the case you are having, after that you can specify default keyword with the colon, right? So then you need to specify whatever the thing you need to print, and after that you need to put this break statement also here. So that is how you can use default keyword. Now, next one, very important, right? And most of the time MCQs are coming from this section, and loops. You need to understand this one very well, right? Really important. And before moving forward with loops, and tell me if you have any problems, or you need to know something a little bit more, and do I need to discuss something again? Tell me if you have such kind of trouble, or you can simply email me and ask, then I will contact you, and then I'll tell you what you need to know about your topic or something like that. So if you have no problems, it's good. And now I'm going to moving forward with C# loops, right? So not only C#, and most of the programming languages, you can see different types of loops, and basically there are three loops. There are three loops. The first one is while, and the second one is do while, and the last one is for loop. So before moving forward with loops, then I'll tell you something about what this really means. So in computer programming, a loop is a sequence of instructions that is continually repeated until a certain condition is reached, right? So loops are very useful because they save time, reduce errors, and make the code more readable, right? So, and in this section we are going to discuss about three loops. First one is while loop, second one is do while loop, and the last one is for loop, right? So this is the while loop. So here you can see the while loop loops through a block of code as long as a specified condition is true, right? So this is the while keyword. You need to specify this keyword, and after that you need to open a bracket, and then you need to put your condition here, and then you need to close the bracket and open curly brackets to call curly brackets, and inside that curly brackets you need to specify whatever the code you need to execute until this while condition is true, right? So now let's see the example here. So in this example below, the code in the loop will run over and over again as long as a variable I is less than 5, right? So here int I equal 0. Initially, the value of this I variable is 0. Now I am going to check while I less than 5. Yes, I less than 5 because I is 0. 0 is less than 5. Then I will print I, right? So I will print I. Or you can do some calculations. So some other thing also you can do, but I need to see the output. That's why I use this console.writeLine method to print the value of I. Right? So then after printing that value, I'm going to increment the value of I by 1, right? So now I value is 1 because the previously it was 0, and after this statement I value is 1. Now I is, again we are going to check this statement, right? So we don't go for this statement, just the loop means this set of statement, right? So now I'm going to check again I is less than 5 because now I is 1 is less than 5. Yes, it's true. Then we print 1 because we are going to print the value of I means 1, right? Then again I increment the value of I. Now I value is 2. 2 is less than 5, right? So we are going to check why I value is less than 5. Yes, 2 is less than 5. Again we print 2. Then we increment the value of I. Now I value is 3. 3 is also less than 5. Then we print the value 3. Then we increment value 3 by 1. Now it's 4. Now 4 is less than 5. Then we print 4, right? Then we increment the value of 4 by 1. Now it's 5. 5 is not less than 5, right? So now we need to stop our uh, printing statement. Now we are going to stop our loop, right? In simple word, because 5 is not less than 5, right? So here we can print only up to 0 to 4, right? 0 the first time, then the 1, then 2 and 3, then 4. We cannot print 5 because 5 is not less than 5. So we check the condition. This condition is false. Therefore, we cannot forward with the loop, right? So then we need to simply go away from the loop. Is it okay? So this is the easiest one and the easiest loop, right? So anything you need to know? Or do I need to explain this again? Tell me if you need new explanation, or again I need to explain, then tell me, then again I can do that. Sometimes if you are new for this section, then sometimes there may be troubles to understand this kind of things. And simply try to understand this one. I'll give you 1 or 2 minutes. And take a piece of paper and try to write the output, just going through each and every step, and show me the output inside your chat box, right? So I'm waiting for your result. Tell me the output, how it happens. Now tell me the answers. So you didn't send any answer or some other thing. So what is the answer? What is the output of this program? So I'm going to run the program, and it's better if you can send me the output. No, no one sent. So now see the output. So it would be like this. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So this is how you can see the output. Now the next one. So is there anything you need to know about that output? Or is it okay? You all understand the concept. You can use chat box, so then I can get to what you have understand. So then I'm moving forward with the do while loop. So the do while loop is a variant of the while loop. So a little bit different from the while loop. So this loop will execute the block of code once, right? So before checking the condition is true. So this is the important part here, right? So why it is important? So you can see this loop will execute the code block once before checking if the condition is true. Then it will repeat the loop as long as the condition is true. So here, before checking the condition, once we print whatever the thing we need to print, right? So that means this loop will execute the code block once. That means this code will execute once, right? After that, we are going to check the condition, right? So this is the sample program. Here int I equals 0, then I'm going to print the value of I, and then I increment the value of I by 1, then I check the condition, right? So I is initially 0, and now I'm going to increment the value of I after printing the value of I. Now I value is 1 is less than 5. Then we go for the this statement, right? So this is the scope of the loop, right? So once we specify, once we declare a variable, we do not go for that one again. So this is the scope of the loop. So the first thing, do, then print the value of I, then we increment the value of I by 1, right? So now 0, previously it was 0, value of the one I was 0, now value is 1, right? Then we check while I is less than 5. Now I is 1 is less than 5. Yes, it's true. Then we print again I, right? So now I copy this program, and I'll show you how it is being executed. So copy, and I remove this program and I paste it here. So the same output we can get, right? So here the initially I is 0, and I print the value of I. So that's why you can see 0 here, right? So Now, initially the value of I is 0. I is 0, this one. Then do I print the value of I. So when I execute this part, you can see this 0. Then I increment the value of I by 1. Now I value is 1. And I check that condition while I is less than 5. Yes, I is less than 5 because I is 1. Right? So then again I print the value. Now 1 is printed. That's why you can see this 1 here. Then again I increment the value of I by 1. Now I value is 2. Now 2 is less than 5. Then again I print the value of I, which is 2. Then increment the value of I by 1. Now the I value is 3. 3 is less than 5, right? So because I check the condition again, now 3 is less than 5, right? So then again I print the value of I, that is 3, right? So then after printing the value 3, then I increment the value of 3 by 1. Now the value of I was 4. Now 4 is also less than 5. I again print the value of I, that is 4. Then I increment the value of I by 1. Now the I value is 5. So again I check this condition. I is less than 5 because 5 is not less than 5. We terminate the loop, right? So we go away from the loop. So that's why you can see 0 from, we start from 0 up to 4. You can't see 5 here because 5 is not less than 5. Therefore you cannot print the value of I when the I value is 5. So that is how this program works. Anything you need to know? Now the last one, for loop, right? For loop. Try to understand this one. This is really important. So this is completely different from while and do while loop. So here you can see the syntax of this loop start from for keyword for, and open bracket. Inside this bracket you can see three expressions, and the first one is expression 1, second one is expression 2, right? So then the last one is expression 3, and inside this loop scope you can see whatever the value we need to print or we need to perform some calculations, then we need to put those code here, right? So now try to understand how this loop is going to be executed. The first step of this loop start from the expression 1, right? So this part, expression 1. Then we go for the second step, right? So second step is expression 2. Then remember the third step is this step, right? So the statements we are going to print or whatever the thing we are going to do, right? So after that we go for the fourth step, right? So now understand these three statements. The first expression is executed one time, only once, right? Before the execution of the code block. So this is the code block. Before this execution of these code blocks, we execute only once this statement. Then expression 2, this one, right? This one. Expression 2 defines the condition for executing the code block. So if we need to execute something and we need to define some condition for that, like if condition, right? So that's why we need to specify the condition we are going to check. So this is the place to specify that condition. So that is the second part, right? Then expression 3. So this one, expression 3 is executed every time after the block has been executed. So this should be expression 4, right? Expression 4, that means this one. Actually expression 3, but the number is 4, right? So remember this one. Expression 3 means this expression. Don't consider these numbers, right? So then you may confuse. Expression 3, this expression, right? So expression is executed every time after the code block has been executed. After this set of statements, if we execute this set of statement, then after the execution of these statements, we go for the expression 3, right? So again, I'll tell you how this is going to be executed. This is the first part, expression 1. Then the logic or the condition we are going to check. This is the second part of the execution. Then we try to execute all the statement available under this loop. And finally, we go for the expression 3, right? So this is the first time this executes, and then we check this condition, and the statements are printed based on the condition. And finally, we execute the expression 3. So this expression executes every time, right? So if we consider steps, this is the first step, this is the second step, and this is the third step, and this is the fourth step, right? See, this is the program, very simple program. So the example below will print, right? So this example will print numbers from 0 to 4. Now see how it is printed. The first one start from I equal 0. That means this expression 1. Int I equals 0. I have declared a variable, and that variable value is 0. Now second step is this step. So this step checks I is less than 5. Yes, I is less than 5 because I is 0. Then we go for the third step. So we are going to print the value of I. Now 0 is printed. And then after printing that value, we go for the fourth step. So this is step. Now we are going to increment the value of I by 1. Now value is 1 because previously it was 0. Now after incrementing the value of 0 by 1, now the value is 1. So now we go for this condition check again, right? So we do not go here, right? So we go for this statement. So I less than 5 because I is 1 is less than 5. Yes, then again we print the value of I. So then we can print 1 also. Then after printing the value of 1, we are going to increment the value of I by 1. Now I value is 2, right? So 2 is less than 5. Then again we print the value. Again we are going to increment the value of I by 1 because I is up to now I is 2. Now after incrementing the value of I, the I value is 3. So 3 is also less than 5. Again we print the value 3, and we increment the value 3 by 1. Now I value is 4. 4 is less than 5. Again we print 4, and we increment 4 by 1. Now the value of I is 5, right? So now the 5 is less than 5. This condition is false because 5 is not less than 5. So then we go away from this loop, and we are not going to print this statement again because this condition is false, right? So that is how for loop is going to be executed. If you have any trouble or any problem, you can ask, then I will explain again. So this is actually a little bit complicated. So I will show you the real program here. Now you can see the output 0 to 4, right? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Anything you need to know, tell me. So this is the explanation, because even if I explain it, sometimes after this lecture, you may forget this one, right? So just go through this simple explanation and try to understand. If you can't understand, then you can send me an email when if you need more explanation, and I'll create another Zoom link and I'll share with you, and then again I discuss with you, right? So if you have any trouble, then tell me. So try to understand, and take a piece of paper and write the output. Then you can get a real idea about how this loop is going to be executed, right? Just go each and every statement and think how it happens. So the first one here, I equals 0, then I is less than 5. Yes, I is less than 5 because I is 0. And then we need to print the value of 5. Now 0 is printed. Then increment the value of I by 1. Now 0 is incremented by 1. Now the I value is 1. So 1 is less than 5. Yes, 1 is less than 5. Then again we print the value of I, that is 1. So then 0 has printed, 1 has printed, right? So likewise, you can go up to 4. Anything you need to know? Or I don't know whether am I going fast? If if it's too fast, then tell me. Then again I can I'll discuss this one very slowly also. So then break statement, right? So if you have no questions, then I can go for the break statement. So break statement means you have already seen the break statement used in earlier chapter, right? So because we use break statement in order to jump out from the switch statement, right? So then the break statement can also be used to jump out of a loop. So we can use the break statement jump out of a loop also, because the previous time we used this break statement to jump out from the switch statement. Now we are going to use the same break statement in order to jump out from the loop, right? So now I will show you how it happens here in this example. So this example jump out of the loop when I is equal 4, right? So this is the initialization, right? So I equals 0, then the condition, yes, I is less than 10. Then we are going to check another condition here, right? So if I is equal to 4, then break, right? So because I is not equal to 4, then we do not execute this part and simply print the value of I. Now we print what we are going to print. Now we can print 0, right? So then 0 we can increment, right? So we can increment 0 by 1. Now the I value is 1. Now 1 is less than 10. Again we check the condition, right? So 1 is not less than 1 is not equal to 4. Then we go for the printing statement. We print 1 also. Then we increment the value of 1 by 1, right? So because I is now 1. So after incrementing the value of I, now I value is 2. 2 is less than 10, but here if we check this condition is not true, because 2 is not equal to 4, right? So then we print the value of 2, value of I, which is 2 also, 0, 1, 2. Then we go for the, again we go for the increment. So now we are going to print, we are going to increment the value of 2 by 1. Now the value is 3. 3 is less than 10. So 3 is less than 10, and this condition is false because 3 is not equal to 4. Then we print the value of 3 here, value of I, which is 3. And then we increment the value of I, which is 3 by 1. So here, now value is 4. 4 is less than 10, right? 4 is less than 10. Then we check this condition again. Now 4 equals to 4, then we break, right? So now what happens when this break condition is applied? Now I will show you really what happens if I execute this program. I copy the program and I paste it here. So here you can see up to output 0, 1, 2, and 3, because after reaching I values, after getting I equals 4, right? Because after incrementing value by 1 right here, because we start from 0 and we came up to 3, and we increment the value 3 by 1 also. Now value was 4. 4 is also less than 10, but when we are going to check this condition, 4 is equal to 4. There is a condition here, break, right? So then we need to break the loop. That means we need to jump out from the loop. Then we cannot execute the rest of the part of this loop because we are moving away from the loop, right? So we go away from the loop. Then up to 3 you can see we have printed up to 3. So that is how the break condition can be applied in order to jump out from the loop. Now continue statement, another thing, continue, right? So the continue statement breaks one iteration in the loop, right? So if a specified condition occurs and continues with the next iteration in the loop. So this is also really important, and we can see how it happens. Continue, right? So here, now the previous time you saw the same example with break, but now you can see continue. So again, I came from initial value, I is 0. So now I check whether I is less than 10. Yes, I is less than 10 because I is 0. So again, I check whether I is equal to 4. No, I is not equal to 4 because I is 0. Then we cannot execute this part. We simply print the value of I. So I value is 0. And we increment the value of I by 1. Now I value is 1. So the 1 is less than 10. Yes. Again, we go for this part. So if we check the value of I, which is 1, with value of 4, if they are equal, then we can go forward with this continue, but they are not equal. So then we again go for this statement. Now we can bring the value of I, which is 1. Then again we increment the value of I by 1. Now the I value is 2. 2 is less than, again we check 2 is less than 10. Yes, 2 is less than 10, and this condition is not true because 2 is not equal to 4. We print the value of I, which is 2. Now 0, 1, and 2 we have printed. Now again we increment the value of I, which is 3, right, which is 2 by 1. Now the value is 3. 3 is less than 10, and 3 is not equal to 4, right? So then we print the value of 3, value of I, which is 3 also, right? So then we are going to increment the value of I, which is 3 by 1. Now value is I value is 4. So the 4 is less than 10. Yes. Then we go for this condition. Now 4 is equal to 4. Now continue. This condition can be applied. Condition means the continue means we do not go for this statement. Simply we again go for this condition. Now we are going to increment the value of I, which is 4 by 1. We do not execute this part, right? So if there is a continuous statement, then we do not go forward with the rest of the code. We go directly from this part, directly from the loop, right? So this loop. So after this continuous statement, we simply go for this increment statement. Now we are going to increment the value of I, which is 4 by 1. So now I value is 5, 5 is less than 10. So now this condition is false because 5 is not equal to 4. Simply we print the value of I, which is 5. So we print 0, 1, 2, and 3, but we do not print 4 because of this continuous statement. We didn't go for this statement. We directly go for the increment. So what should be our output? 0, 1, 2, 3, 5, 5. So we should not print value 4. Now we see the output in our program, right? So up to what level we can print, right? So I copy the program and I close this one again. So up to 9 you can see, right? 0, 1, 2, 3. We cannot see 4 here because of this continuous statement. Directly we go for the next increment, which is 5, and 5 has been printed, then 6, 7, 8, 9. Right, so 9 means because the maximum value of I we can go for 10, because but if I value is 10, 10 is not less than 10, we cannot print the value 10. Just we therefore we need to stop from 9. So that is how you can print up to 9. So there may be some simple programs like this, and you need to select the correct output. And I have given the output also. You need to underline the whatever the correct output. Right. So that's why you need to understand these concepts very clearly. And if you have any troubles and anything you need to know more than that, then you can ask me, or you can ask me now, or you can ask me later. But if you ask now, this is really uh, valuable, because now you got some, now you have learned up to some certain level. Then if you have trouble, then if you resolve now that trouble, now you will be in good level. And I'm not going to today, I'm not going to discuss arrays. And next day I discuss arrays, and I finished the class next day, right? So we did up to continuous statement. So this is actually the most important part of the lesson, right? So because all the logics we have built using these control statements, flow control structures, right? So we start from here, right? So flow control structures, and we discussed up to break statement, and actually break statement we did continuous statement up to continuous statement, right? Continue. So now next day we are going to discuss about arrays, right? So and we can complete, I think from next week or another 1 week we need, sometimes we need to have, because we need to discuss about actually the graphical user interface and how the buttons are working. So those kind of things we need to discuss, because now you know all the context, right? So because we use all the logics and the loops and everything, you know, the back end of the programming language, right? So how the logics are implemented and everything. Now you need to go for the graphical user interface, and then you need to put some buttons on your screen, and you need to write some codes uh, for that those buttons or the whatever the elements you are using in your program. Just if you consider simple calculator, then you can see some buttons, and when you click on that button, you should write something to happen. So those things we discussed from last week, right? So but before that, you need to go for one more concept, arrays and methods also. Maybe I think we need to have 2 weeks for that. Is it okay? So the next one I'm going to discuss about the activity or the assignment I have given you, but I didn't upload that one for your LMS, but I'll upload and I'll tell you actually really what it is. Now you can ask any trouble, right? So if you have any trouble, then this is the time to ask. So actually this is an assignment, right? So in this assignment or the activity, you need to identify a problem or a concept from your study domain, right? So any domain you are going to study in this degree program, right? So you can use any subject you study in this degree program, any subject, right? No problem. And you need to implement a solution within the programming, right? So the first thing, you need to identify a problem or a concept, right? For an example, I have been working with the drug discovery, computational drug discovery, right? So that means, so in my experience, I'm sharing with you, and so it will help you. So now I'm coming from computer science background, and I have done different programming languages and different projects. So I applied my programming knowledge with biological industry. That means I apply my knowledge with biology in order to discover new drugs, new medicines. So because biology is a separate subject and the computer science is another separate subject. So in your subject area also, you are learning different subjects, and now you have learned ICT also, right? So now, because this is the now we have come to the last part of the course. Now you have so many knowledge about programming. So now you need to apply this programming knowledge what you have learned in this course, or you need more than that, then you can ask or you can search and learn. So first thing, you need to identify a problem or concept from your study domain, and then you need to implement a solution, right? So you can implement some computerized approach for manual process. So if you are going to do something manually, then you can do the same thing. You can computerize that process by using your programming knowledge. So that is what I need. So not any programming language you can use, right? So if you know any other programming language, no problem, you can use. But it's better if you can use C++ or C#. What I have uh, discussed with you in this entire course, right? So because in the last time, that means your first semester, that means first year second semester, we did something C++ also. So if there is a special procedure to run your program, and you need to mention that one also in a separate notepad file, because you need to create a program and it should be run, right? So you have two deliverables. So you need to submit two things. The first thing, and I'll give you separate dates, right? So describe the problem you are going to address, first thing, describe the problem you are going to address simply, right? So, and how your program can solve that particular problem, right? So if I consider drug discovery, so drug discovery process mainly consumes actually 7 to 15 years in order to find a new drug, right? So because we need to check each and every chemical compound and its behavior with some other chemical compounds, right? So when I take some medicine, because most of the time we are getting few medicines together. So if there is a chemical reaction between those medicines, then sometimes they are maybe toxic, right? So that's why we need to perform manual experiment. But without performing manual experiment, I can use machine learning technique, right? So in my level, I used machine learning. The machine learning is another approach we can use, just like artificial intelligence. We can input all the chemical compounds and then we can find actually how these chemical compounds are reaction happens, right? So such kind of things we can do in my level, but I'm not going to expect such kind of thing from you. So just for example, like I told you, so you need to find the problem and then or the problem or concept, manual concept, then you need to use your programming knowledge and you need to implement a programming solution for that concept or the problem. So first thing, you need to describe your problem and how your problem can solve by using your programming knowledge, right? So I'll give you for this one week, right? So 1 week. So today is actually 28. So you need to submit this one on or before 4th November, right? 4th November. Then I'll give you another actually 2 weeks or 3 weeks, maximum 3 weeks I can give. 3 weeks I'll give you, right? So maximum 3 weeks because uh, we need to cover something also. So what is the next date I can give? So you need to submit entire working application 18th November, right? So this one for November. Right? Any problems? Anything you need to know? Now ask. So the executor program you need to submit, and I'll tell you how to get that one, right? So because you don't know, so this part you have 3 weeks, right? So this part you have only 1 week. So start from today. Any problems? Anything you need to know? Tell me. Is it okay? Anything you need to know, tell me, because I'm waiting for your response. And at least tell me if it is okay. Okay, just like you can ask like that, right? So I really happy about that. You can describe the first part again. This one, right? You asked me about this one. So describe the problem you are going to address, right? So I don't know your subjects, right? So in your subject, you need to find some manual process, right? So sometimes there may be some calculation. Just think about GPA calculation, but you don't use that one, right? So you can implement a GPA calculator, but GPA calculation most of the time we do manually, but we can implement that GPA calculation as a program by using a programming language. So that is the example. So you need to describe the problem you are going to address, right? First thing, you need to find a problem in your domain, and then you need to describe how your program can solve that particular problem, right? So කොහොමද ඒ problem එක solve කරන්න කියලා ඔයාලා කියන්න ඕනේ in Sinhala, right? So then maximum you need to write 2 pages, right? So maximum 2 pages, right? So 1 page is also enough. If you need diagrams or something like that, then I'll allow 1 more page also. So that's why 2 pages, right? The first thing, describe the problem you are going to address. So address means solve, right? And how your program can solve that particular problem. Tell me what about the problem. Yeah, so this is the problem, and this is the problem I'm going to solve. And so this is how I can solve this problem by using this computer program. Such kind of thing you need to write, right? I don't need the computer program for this submission, just only a report, right? Then I read your reports. I read all your submissions, right? So if there is something you cannot do or something like that, then I'll inform you, right? So then based on my feedback, you can proceed further for the executable program, right? So the first thing, you submit this one, then I'll tell you what you should do, right? Okay, anything you need to know? 631, it is okay. Okay, okay. So any problems, anything you need to know? So because this is the outcome of this coursework, right? So you should be able to implement new things, right? So anything if you need, then I'll tell you, because we have 15 minutes and I can wait for some other minutes for your questions, because this is critical, because you need to implement something, right? So, and the deadline is given, right? So you need to submit required things on or before deadline, right? And this one I'll upload for the LMS also. So, and I'll tell you later, right? So how to get the executable program, but you don't need to worry about this one up to now, right? So uh, within upcoming 2 weeks, I'll discuss how to get the exe or cpp files, right? So cpp means C double plus files. If you use C double plus programming language, you can use you can get the cpp file, right? So if you use Visual Studio C Sharp, you can get the exe files, and I will tell you how to get that later, right? So, and you all plan to create a form application, right? So the form application, like it would be something like this. So I encourage you to create a kind of application, but imagine such level, right? So, but you don't know up to how to create that application, but because I have given you to think more time, right? That's why today I give that assignment. So I'll tell you how to create a form application, basically really what it is. Then you can get an idea about what you are going to create. So this kind of thing, right? So suppose a point of sale system in the most of the supermarkets, you have seen this kind of form, and something like that, similar to this one. So these things I'll discuss last day, right? So you can put buttons like this, and check boxes, and I'll think everything I'll discuss, right? So then you can write something when you click on this button, and you can have some text boxes, right? So here I'll get another text box. Where's the text box actually? Text box, this one, right? So another text box, I can copy this one and paste it here, right? So then I can input some values, and another value I can input here. Then I can use these buttons. When I click this button, you can perform some operations based on the values inside these boxes. So these kind of things I discuss within next 2 weeks, right? But today I gave this assignment because you can think something from your subject, and the thinking is really important. Then you can do what you have think to do, right? So that's why today I have given, and I expect this kind of interface, and you need to create an application like this, right? So this part we can do later, and just think first what you are going to do. And the console applications are also welcome, no problem, right? So if you are going to create a console application like previously we did, right? So previously we did some console applications, today also, just like not found, we print based on the case statements. Such kind of things are also welcome, right? So if you need, you can go more than that. Okay, I think you don't have any problems. Then I'll wind up the session, and let's meet next. What is the next date? Next date is 4th November, right? So with the submissions. Okay, now I'm going to wind up the session.